Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Games and Things. If you're hoping to build an entertainment room or a man cave, then go to the Ultimate Man Cave store. That's Games and Things. They're at the corner of Lovell Road and Kingston Pike. No one has a showroom like these guys. Great locally owned business for more than 40 years. In fact, coming up a few weeks from now, not right now, but coming up a few weeks, is going to be their 41st anniversary sale. It's a great company, great people. Get out and see Scott and Lisa Mellon this week at Games and Things. All right. Gentlemen, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Vols knockout, as I said earlier, is one of the 50-50 games. If you want to get to 6-6 and bowl eligible, you had to have a few of these. You got one. At the same time, Missouri is Cincinnati level bad on defense. Sorry, Marlon.
Don't remind me.
Yeah, but so you take those two things into account. We also know what happens in college football. Team wins. Fans and some media believe they'll never lose again. You lose, fans and some media believe they'll never win again. You just ride that roller coaster. How much stock do you put in this Missouri game? Are you riding the roller coaster, or are you just kind of taking the Zen approach and saying, well, we'll see against South Carolina and everybody else? How much stock goes into this Missouri win?
I think it's going up for me. I thought it went up for me against Florida, despite the way you lost last week. I thought they did a nice coaching job against Florida. People need to remember this is a team operating with about, three-quarters of a real football team because of everything that happened. So to me, the stock went up for me last week, and it went up a little bit more this week.
Okay, gentlemen, how much stock you putting in?
Yeah, I'm putting in a pretty decent amount of stock because I look at the potential, and when you play at that level, that shows me how good you can be. Are you going to play at that level for every game? No, You're not. But remember, this was a team in Missouri that took Kentucky to a 7-point game. But now, as far as getting over the top, I had a buddy of mine that after the Missouri game, Tennessee should beat Kentucky now. I said, no, they not should.
Right.
Well, I hadn't heard from him after Kentucky beat Florida.
Right.
The point is, this is an ebb and flow. But what I saw out of Tennessee, the way they ran the football and the way they played defense, stopping the run, I put a lot of stock in that because it shows me how good you can be when you're at your best.
Let me show you this. Let's talk transitive property. I think that's what this is called. In terms of what you're talking about, trying to apply this week's game to next week's game, Florida whipped UT by 24 points. Tennessee crushed Missouri by 38. All right. Kentucky just barely beat Missouri. So Florida should have handled Kentucky pretty. Oh, wait, Kentucky beat Florida in a close game.
Yeah.
You don't know. A doesn't equal B, doesn't equal C. You don't know how these teams are going to match up or what they're going to bring to a table each week. That said, his stock's going up. Jimmy's being a little bit more cautious, but the stock is going up as well. Marlon, stock going up for this team?
I put a lot into this one.
Okay.
Here's the reason why. As a former player, that Florida week is huge, right? We're told that around that Florida game, you get to figure out what type of team we are. Yes, we dropped the Pitt game, but we played really well Pitt game. We probably should have won a couple plays here and there. But the Florida week is the week that you put a lot of stock into. And so when you take that loss versus Florida, because the coaches have told you all week, hey, we're going to go get them this year, here's the reason why. And then when that don't happen, mentally as a team, especially with a new coach, you begin to start to think of doubt. And so that Missouri game was big because a lot of guys are probably on the fence and trying to figure out if exactly what hype was telling us, should we buy into this or do we drop this?
Hang on, we'll get to that a little later. Yeah.
Exactly. So if we don't perform the way we performed in this game, a lot of guys are probably starting to think, okay, here we go again.
Yeah.
And so the Missouri game, they wasn't very good, but at the same time, we showed that we can put up a lot of points, and it also shows that what this coaching staff is telling us, we can buy into it. If we clean up what we're supposed to clean up, which I'm sure is probably what happened after that Florida game, you break the tape down. And so I'm putting a lot of stock into this because now a lot of guys are starting to buy into exactly what hype was saying, and that's huge for a team as far as going forward in this schedule that we got coming up.
Josh, you putting a lot of stock in this one or no?
I think Bama should feel lucky that he played Ole Miss, not Tennessee yesterday. That's how I look at it. I put a lot of stock into it with what Marlon just said and with what the realistic goals are. The realistic goals, number one, get to a bowl game, very much on the table. I think they should get to a bowl game now. If you beat South Carolina, South Alabama, and Vanderbilt, you're there. Can you win 7 games? You can. It's not going to be easy. It's not guaranteed, but you can. You could not if you lost to Missouri yesterday. So the goals are attainable.
One quick point, too. After the Florida loss, it was Alontae Taylor, I believe, that said, we're not going to fall apart. You can quote me on that. Saturday was a pretty good indication you're not falling apart.
I still wonder and I think you have to for the rest of the year. I mean, maybe if they come out and do this 2 or 3 weeks in a row, I'll stop this. But to me, in these 50-50 games, I saw one game where they shot themselves in the foot. All right? I saw one game where they just went and took care of business in every way.
They shot the other team in the foot.
They shot the other team in the foot and the chest and everywhere else. It was like somebody breaking into Bob Hodge's house. But I don't know what you're going to get in South Carolina. Is it going to be the Pitt team that shows up or the Missouri team that shows up? And I'm still wondering about that. I will tell you where the roller coaster for me is rising. The team-wise, it's not going to rise because that roster keeps worrying me. The depth, the roster, it's not going to change for me. But I'm feeling much better about the coaching staff. Each week I'm feeling better and better about the coaching staff.
That's where I'm buying my stock at, is in the coaching staff right now. I think that so far what I've seen from them, they coached you well enough right now to be a one-loss football team. And maybe you don't drop some passes or anything, maybe Florida's a little bit closer. But that's what I'm watching.
I'll go so far as the offense, I expected good things. I've been impressed with Tim Banks' defense. The fact that you took care of business yesterday, didn't let them. I was thinking that was going to wind up being 63-42. And it'd still be a hefty win, but it wouldn't look as great. They kept the foot on their necks and didn't lift it up. So I'm beginning to think if they can get some talent over there with this see-ball, go-get-ball defense as opposed to Pruitt's geometry, I think this could be a dangerous football team in the future. So, all right, when we come back, let's do some rapid-fire questions for the panel. We're going to cover everything from 4-1 records to icebergs. Come on back on the Sports Source.